Oh, my head is so big. Welcome to That Jamieson Show. This is episode number 2 in quarantine, broadcasting here from Jamieson, the Jamieson Beach House in New Jersey. And that was a little clip from Bad Wolves, the new band with Tommy Vext on vocals, who will be my guest today. So me and him will be chatting about all things Bad Wolves. If you're not familiar with that band, you probably know them best from their cover of the Cranberries' song Zombie, which came out literally right before their singer passed away. So it was just crazy timing. She was supposed to appear on the track. She passed away before she was able to. So they did a great job covering that tune, and that became a huge thing, and so forth and so on. We'll talk to Tommy about all that stuff, but I've known Tommy for years. He's been slugging away in the clubs forever, and really a big break with this band, which is so cool. Let's see, what else is going on? We got Pat Oates coming up in the show later on. Comedian Pat Oates. He did a pilot for Compound Media recently, so we'll see a clip of that. And Pat, I didn't know, is a big rocker, so I'm excited to talk to him and delve into his rock mind and see what's happening with Pat and get his take on some of the music news that's going on. And so it's That Jamieson Show. It's Tuesday once again. I'm happy to be with you. My head is so big, I got to move this back a little bit. Maybe that's the move. There you go. That's a little better. Without further ado, let's bring in the badass singer of that band, whose video you just saw. Please welcome Tommy Vext. How's it going, Tommy?
I can figure this out. Hold on.
Sure. Got it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me, Tommy?
I don't know what's going on there. No, I'm on.
All right.
I don't know how to turn the sound on. I don't know how to use this thing.
You got those fancy earbuds?
Oh, no, there it goes. You're on. That was weird.
You got those what do you got, those Bluetooth earphones?
No, I just don't. I have it on speaker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm on my porch, on my patio.
Where are you, in Cali?
Yeah, in Venice, man.
Cool, man. You from there originally?
No, I'm from Brooklyn. I've been in California for a long time, though.
Yeah, because I always knew you, obviously more from the New York scene, because I'm an East Coast guy. But first question is, man, how you doing in all this craziness?
I'm doing okay, man. I mean, I think for all intents and purposes, it's a lot worse for a lot of other people, and that's kind of been my perspective. Obviously, the entertainment industry, as far as touring, music, bands, it's grinded to a halt. So we have canceled tours. We're probably going to cancel another tour, which is kind of, we're in limbo waiting. So, the band kind of got together and we did a live stream performance on Patreon 2 Fridays ago, and that was super cool to, because it was something, we wanted to do something to kind of re-engage with our fans and keep people entertained. And and we're back in the studio. So instead of us just sitting around kind of scratching our heads what to do, we're all getting creative, and we're respecting quarantine, so everyone's working separately. So it's an interesting process.
Well, man, a year from now, the hard rock and metal scene, I have a feeling there's just going to be some incredible stuff that comes out, a year from now, because everyone's doing what you're doing, and even what I'm doing is trying to stay creative during this time. And, I don't know about you, but, sometimes writing from a place of anger or desperation or whatever can really produce some incredible music or comedy or whatever your art is. So, hoping that's the good thing that comes out of this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think traditionally metal and hard rock are very affected by political environment, by war, by, poverty, like all the things that, all the best metal bands were always, for me, they wrote proletariat anthems. It was like music for the working class. And so, I'm sure that I know a lot of people are going back into the studio, so it's going to be interesting to see what comes out next year.
Yeah, and for fans of Bad Wolves, and of course all our fans, we keep reiterating people, should check out the band's Patreon, buy a T-shirt, stream some of the music, download something, help keep these artists going. Tommy, I saw something the other day. I'm sure you saw it as well. Of course, none of us know, but kind of alluding to the fact that there might not be any kind of big gatherings until maybe fall of even next year. I mean, that's hard to believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy, especially as a band. Like for us, we do a lot of, we're very fortunate that we get to be a support band to a lot of arena and amphitheater size bands. Like we were scheduled to go on tour with Disturbed and Stain this summer, and it's probably not going to happen. We were hopeful, and then now, it's looking like all the large concert series are getting the kibosh. So I think it depends on how you look at it. If I grew up in CBGBs, I grew up in a hardcore scene, and so I am a fan of smaller shows. Like every time we do one-offs or we play 800 seaters, it's like refreshing because there's no barricade and like I can get really close to the audience. So, I think we're going to tour no matter what, as long as it's legal. And, it's the same thing. I think people are going to just, it's going to be harder to get in certain shows. Like if a band like Five Finger or Disturb have to go on tour and they can only play for 1,000 people, they're going to have to play 10 times in the same city. So, but I'm sure that they're going to figure it out, because people need, that might turn into something amazing, that might be turned into some kind of evolution of how bigger bands refuse to stop playing music, and everyone got an opportunity to see their favorite band much closer in a more intimate setting. So, we will see what happens,
Yeah. Well, listen, don't sell your band short at all, because it's really incredible, Tommy. This band is only 3 years old, and yet, you become quite a phenomenon with this band. So, I mean, for you guys even now to go and play small clubs is almost pushing it a little bit too. I mean, ever since your cover of Zombie by the Cranberries, and of course now you have 2 full-length albums out now. But yeah, you've slugged it out in the clubs for years. I've known you, for years. I knew you when you played with Dino and Divine Heresy. Just giving my audience just a little background on you and getting to this point where you've really hit it big with Bad Wolves.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the past 3 years have been kind of, it's weird. It's I remember when, being friends with bands like Killswitch and Lamb of God and Hatebreed, and then, seeing those guys explode and watching their careers take off, almost 20 years ago, and slugging it out for the next 2 decades. It's weird. A lot of the times the success that we've had almost feels like it's happening to somebody else. So it's kind of I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't do, and then also we're so ambitious. I don't really consider us successful yet. I'm like one of those true music fans that it's it's about a discography and a body of work, to me that constitutes success. So we're constantly driving towards that. But yeah, it's just a lifestyle. So it's I think we would all continue to be in bands, whether we were in a van or if we were in a bus or if we were in clubs, or if we were playing arenas. It doesn't matter. This is for lifers. So it's if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Cool. We just, maybe we got lucky, or maybe it's last man standing, A lot of people quit, You know, I've been, you know, like you said, Divine Heresy, that was like, what, 14 years ago, 13 years ago or something like that. And even before that, you know, the guys in my band, all they're, you know, John's from Devil Driver, Doc's from God Forbid, Chris was in Bury Your Dead, and Before the Fallen Dreams, and Kyle's been in, you know, In This Moment, and he played with Joey Jordison from Slipknot and Vimic and Scar the Martyr. And yeah, we're just like, you know, we're just dudes in a band, you know.
I think that combination of people, and you know, and quite honestly, you know, I think Doc is such an underrated guitar player beyond belief. So I think there's a lot of magic in your potion that makes Bad Wolves what it is. I think timing has been a big thing for you guys, and so that makes me think, like, I wonder if you personally, because of this shutdown, do you worry about the momentum of your band stopping now or slowing down?
No, I mean, because, you know, all this, like I said, it's like all this positive stuff that happened for our career, like, it doesn't even settle in, you know? And so to me, you know, and you talking to somebody, I've been homeless before, you know? So it just, you got to look at your circumstances, and you have to take opportunities to work, you know? And so I think this is going to be a really productive time for us. There's a lot of things that I wanted to do that we simply didn't have enough time to do, you know? Like, I wanted to make a covers album, and, you know, it was like, I didn't know if it was going to be a Bad Wolves thing, or I just wanted to like get better as a singer by singing other people's songs and songs that I loved growing up. And I started doing that, and I didn't think these songs were ever going to get released. And so now some of them are going up on Patreon. We're dropping 2 songs a week, 1 original and 1 cover, you know, for the next probably 2 months. So on top of making an entirely new album, you know, and since there are so many writers in the band, I'm sure there's going to be like well over 30 or 40 songs by the end of this whole thing. So, and only 1 singer. So I got lots of work to do. So it's to me, it's just keeping busy, you know?
Well, and you, dude, you have such an aggressive vocal style, and obviously you have so many dynamics to your voice. Every singer has their little tricks of keeping their voice in shape, whether it be on the road or in the studio. Do you have anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, like many metal vocalists, I've been a student of Melissa Cross for 16 years, I think. I've known Melissa so long. When I was in my old band before Divine Heresy, I was in a like a rap metal hardcore band called Vext, and I didn't have money for vocal lessons, so I would babysit her son and trade babysitting for vocal lessons. So I would like watch Luke or take him to the museum and hang out with him so she could go teach her famous clients. And then when I'd come back and drop them off, like I'd be, you know, she would be like, okay, and she'd give me lessons. And it's like, and now she's kind of like my second mom. So any vocal issues I have, I just call her. You know, we FaceTime. We've done lessons on Zoom, and her students have come in now, and it's kind of cool because we have this like family relationship together, and the students can kind of see how much love and nurturing actually goes into the, you know, the student and the instructor. And when you actually take the principles and the lessons that you're given and use practical application in a work environment, like being on stage or doing a lot of press, not getting enough sleep, being in the recording studio, and then having it, you know, so like, you know, a lot of the things that I've been successful at, it's also a success for the people who have cared about what I was doing along the way. People like Melissa Cross, or like Eric German, who's the band's attorney, who I've known for 20 years, or, you know, Zoltan from Five Finger, who is our manager. You know, he's a longtime friend of mine, and he chose to manage the band when we were like, we had no manager, we had no record deal, we didn't know what we were going to do. And he heard Learn to Live, and he was like, what the fuck is this? You know? Actually, he was like, what the fuck is this? And it was his Hungarian accent. So it's like, you know, it's like, I feel like, you know, our success is not just ours. It's like there's a whole team in place, and a lot of I know I'm going off topic, but it's really important for me because there's a lot of really amazing artists right now that aren't getting heard, and I think part of it is they don't realize it's really important to connect the dots to get your music to the people who actually give a shit about music that are still in this industry and want to see you succeed, you know?
Yeah, and you know, you're right. I mean, it always takes a team, and
Zoltan. I think you muted yourself. Well, I don't know what just happened.
Can you hear me? You got me? Tommy?
I don't know.
It should be good.
No.
We're good on this end, Tommy.
Yeah, I lost sound again.
We should be good. Testing.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, bro. Yeah? No?
No, I don't know. That's weird. You can hear me. I can't.
All right.
Hold on.
You want to reconnect?
Is it working now?
I can hear you, bro.
God, that's weird. Yeah, it just went off. Huh. I don't know what is.
Hey, Garrett, how do we tell him to try to reconnect?
Let me try calling you. Let me call you back.
Perfect.
All right. Cool. Yeah. Hey, this is the stuff that, there's my big head again. There's the stuff that happens when you're doing isolation shows. So what are you going to do? So Tommy will call back. He's a real interesting guy, man. His story is crazy. I wanted to talk to him about, I think for him, you know, he filled in for Five Finger Death Punch when their singer Ivan went to rehab. And I wanted to talk to Tommy about that. Hopefully we get him back and I can ask him about that. In the meantime, we're going to have Pat Oates on in about 15 minutes. And we'll finish talking to Tommy. And yeah, and there's a bunch of rock and metal news and stuff, so we'll get to that as well. And
right, we're connected back. We'll see if you can hear us.
Okay.
I can hear. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, there we go.
Cool.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. All right, now I'm inside. I don't know what that was. That was so weird.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, man. I think people are grading all this stuff on a curve these days, man, because everyone's just happy that shows are still be able to function. People are still be able to put content out. It's just in a different way now. Like you said, man, you guys are taking advantage of the Patreon thing, which is great. So everybody check out Bad Wolves on Patreon. A new song and a cover song on a steady basis from these guys. Now, I got to ask you, obviously, because of, you know, what a huge hit it was. You know, the Cranberry Zombie, you know, the timing of it, the impact that it had with the fans. It's now held you to such a high standard. If you're doing covers, do you feel like every cover now you have to knock it out of the park? Is that what the fans expect now?
No, and again, like, you know, some of the songs that we covered, that was stuff that I did before Zombie even happened. You know, this is something that like kind of how my relationship with Melissa Cross, like, if you want to get better at doing something, you gotta learn how to do what other people do that are better than you, and that goes for songwriting too. So the Beatles, I kind of took a note from the Beatles because they used to do, that was what they did. They were a cover band. And I just was like, well, if they deconstructed all these other people's songs and learned how to do them, then maybe that's going to help me grow as a songwriter. So that's kind of how that started. And then as far as, I think Zombie is, as a song, you know, obviously the original was a massive hit. I think that record, they did 30 million copies worldwide or something like that. And so, you know, it's not like, you know, we didn't reinvent the wheel, you know, or reinvent the steel, so to speak. No, Pantera puns intended, totally intended. But I think that it was the combination of the circumstances were extraordinary. And what a lot of people don't know is that song wasn't even supposed to be on the record because I didn't feel like we did a good enough job at it. And when we sent it to Dolores, we literally sent it for her approval because the label loved it, and I was like, I don't know, like and she loved it so much she wanted to sing on it, and then and then she obviously, as people know, she passed away the day before she was scheduled to record it with us, and and I think that releasing the song and donating the proceeds to her family was the only thing that we could do. We had no idea. I don't think anybody had any idea what was going to, that it would, it just turned into a memorial kind of thing. And so I don't know. I don't know if anything will ever be like that situation. And I would hope not, because if I could take a time machine, I would give anything up to have Dolores back and be alive and sing on that track, obviously. So, I don't, I think that's just like a very significant moment in time that it actually changed the trajectory in rock in a way, because all of a sudden the mainstream we're like, oh, guitars are cool again and solos are cool again, and like, and we're like, as musicians who've been in metal bands who've played festivals all over the world and sold out shows and opened up for all these different huge bands, we're like, we'd never left. Like, this is a constant, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. And you can never recreate a certain moment in time, but certainly it had such a huge impact. It helped propel your band. And I couldn't help thinking also, one of the steps along the way for you, Tommy, that I noticed, which I thought was really cool, was, when Ivan from Five Finger, was dealing with some problems, they had asked you to step up and fill in for some dates. When you were doing that, did you have the feeling that maybe this could be a new home for you, or were you just kind of concerned with going in and trying to do a good job?
I think, well, it was terrifying, first of all. I think that in respect to Ivan, God, man, that guy is, as a front man, he's just not, you don't want to go, it's like, you don't want to fight a boxing match after Mike Tyson, or an MMA fight after, there's certain people you don't want to, that's a big shadow. And it was like a very weird time, because the sentiment overall was concern. So most of the time during that time, everybody was scared in a way, but with a sense of a responsibility to give the fans a show that they deserved and that they paid for. And also to the concern that, is our friend going to be okay? So, and I think that I really applaud Five Finger Death Punch, because what happened in that scenario is an original story. And what normally happens in the music industry is somebody in the band has an addiction problem, and management and the label keep pushing them on stage. Go, just get on stage, just go, go, go. And then they either burn out or they overdose and die. And you've seen that with people like Scott Weiland. You've seen that, throughout, I could sit here and name tons of names of incredible artists who either, met their demise through suicide from exhaustion and relapse, or just overdosed. And Five Finger did something different. They were like, we're going to, we're not going to continue to put our friend who is suffering and sick in a position to get worse, and we're going to put him in a position to get better. And as a result, I think that that band now, and we've opened for them on several tours, and I have visually watched the progression of them. And now, I remember we were just in tour with them in Megadeth, and I think we played in might have been Berlin, and I just was like, I was sitting with Doc and John and watching Five Finger play, and I like had a tear in my eye, and I was like, because I know everything that these guys went through, you know, and like even though they're like this big famous band, these are people. They're good dudes, you know. They spend, you know, they're like one of the only bands that not only do they help other bands, but dude, they devote so much of their money and time and platform to helping people in the military and police and firemen and EMS workers and like,
right,
you know, the real like people, the real service heroes of this nation and the world, and that, you know, to see that them come together and have happiness again and like wholeness, it's incredible. It's inspiring.
yeah.
You know, so I played a teeny tiny part in that situation in the beginning, and then just got to watch, you know, sit back and watch the miracle happen, the miracle of sobriety, you know, and how it changes people's lives. So I'm very blessed.
Yeah, and you talk about that in your guys' song "Sober" as well, and I'm so happy for all those guys in that band.
What's the sound again?
He did.
I don't know what is going on with the sound.
I don't know, man. I think
this is the weirdest thing.
We're good on this end. Not sure.
I can't hear you.
Yeah.
I wonder if you're not muted, right?
No, I'm good.
No, that's weird. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna hang up a call again.
We'll try one more time. One more time. Because you got to give the guy a proper goodbye. You can't let him just drop off like that.